Well, might as well spend some time in the fish room. Figured I'd give you guys just a little check-in on all my fish since we're all sitting at home with nothing to do. Starting off with the 75-gallon double Rex, I've got this red dragon flower horn, and this is a Texas cichlid flower horn mixed with a parrot. So this is the crazy hybrid tank. I had a big, huge pleco in here, but he was just pooping non-stop and I had to take him out. So these guys make plenty of mess on their own. You can see some uneaten food because they're a little shook up. I pulled the jaguar cichlid out of there because the jaguar cichlid was beaten up on him. I don't know, you might be able to see he's still got a little damage around his eye there. And I think on his left, yeah, his left side's a little beat up too. That squeaker cat back there, he's got some scrapes on him too. That jaguar was just beating up everybody. So I'll show you where I moved him later. And the bottom tank still has the axolotls. I know it's a major overkill to have a 75-gallon with 2 axolotls, but it's my only non-heated tank right now, so I'm gonna fix that soon. Over here, my feeder tanks. I got the green water with rosy reds. Those have been quarantined for 2 months. I don't know if you can see, but that one is Popeye. I'm not feeding live food anymore. I did have to feed live food for my wolffish, but unfortunately, I'll show you a clip. I came home and he jumped out of just the smallest crack. It wasn't that crack. My lid was actually like this. I left it like that and he jumped out. So I tried to resuscitate him. I was circulating his body, shaking him. I was pumping water with a pump through his gills, and he was breathing for a while, but then he just let go. I also have an ornate Bashir in here. You can kind of see him a little bit there. He always stays inside that battleship. Every time I do a water change, I have to take the battleship out of the tank and get him out just to make sure he's doing okay still. The angels are still breeding. I need to scrub this algae, but I don't like to do it when there's a bunch of little tiny babies in there because I don't want to accidentally smush one of them. So that's only about a third of the eggs they laid. 2/3 of it got moldy. I put methylene blue on there, but I use less than the recommended dose because that stuff seems so strong to me, but I should have stuck with the recommended dose. This is what the jaguar cichlid was in until I moved him to the 75. He started beating him up, so I had to move him to the 120. He's not going to be able to beat up anything in that 120. This is what I think is a pair of bristlenose plecostomus. They are really hidden right now. We might have to come back later and see them. Aha, there's one of their poops. So I got fresh green beans in there, trying to get them fattened up and ready to breed. I got these in the mail today. These are called self-watering cones, but they're supposedly work great for pleco breeding caves. So I'm going to toss a couple of those in there after I rinse them off real good. The piranha is what I got to replace the wolffish. After the wolffish died, I wanted another predator. So I got a group of 8, and these minnows, these rosy reds, have been in there at least the week and a half I've had the piranha, and they haven't eaten them. And my theory is, I used to have piranha many years ago, and they would eat each other if you weren't feeding them enough, or if there wasn't a dither. So by having these sacrificial minnows in here, if they decide to go, homicidal, they'll take them out before they'll take out one of their brothers. So that's my theory, at least from my experience. But they're doing pretty good. Over here, green spotted puffers. All 3 of them are still happy and healthy. Once I throw the food in there, they'll come flying out. I'm still battling diatoms, this stupid black algae, this slime algae. So I've tried dosing for it with chemicline, and I took out all the pool filter sand because supposedly the silica in the pool filter sand is what allows the diatoms to grow. Where the heck are the other puffers? There's one. Oh, there's the other. Yeah. Up here is the smaller Jack Dempsey. I had to separate them because the bigger one was beaten up on the smaller one. And guess what else is in here? A Frontosa. Huh! Just spooked him. Yeah, there's a Frontosa. So they squabble sometimes, but for the most part, they're pretty good together. And then over here is where I've been trying to breed rams, but I think I just don't have a pair. I think I have two males is the problem. I've been looking at the store trying to find some females, but I'm not having too much luck. So you can see I've got places for them to hide, to separate in case they squabble. I've got a pot lid for hopefully breeding. I got a piece of slate, and I've got another spot for them to hide. In here I just threw 3 sail fin mollies in. You can see that guy's the male right there. He's showing his fin pretty nice. Then that's a female, and that's another female. In as many tanks as I can too, I'm trying to get these bladder snails grown because I just did a big clean out yesterday and I fed a bunch of the snails to these guys to keep their beaks trimmed down. Down here is all the baby angels that I'm currently growing out from the parents up top I showed you earlier. So there's about 3 different spawns mixed in there, and I really screwed up. I didn't think it would happen, but the one time I mixed the spawn before it had grown too much, and they went suicidal and tried to eat all the other babies that were smaller than them. So lesson learned. Baby angels can be hyper aggressive. My plans for this tank right here is to have all the baby plecos that I hopefully breed grow out. There's nothing in there right now besides a couple snails. And over here, this is what I call one of my most fun tanks. This has a baby bristlenose right there, a yo-yo loach. I have these 3 tire track eels and the bigger Jack Dempsey. And also, I rescued this Corydorus cat. I've been thinking about getting a couple more because I heard they like to be in groups. So I don't know much about Cory cats. See this little eel? I love these eels. They're so awesome. They'll even burrow in this gravel, believe it or not. It seems crazy to me that they can burrow in it. But they do. I find their heads sticking out all the time. So you have to keep track of them too when you gravel back. Like this is my only tank that has gravel in it. It's the only one I have to gravel back. And of course now I have to worry about these guys being burrowed in the gravel. So this tank is doing pretty good. I put some green beans in this tank for the baby pleco and the Corydorus last night, and it's all gone, so these guys are eating it. Check out the color on that guy. These guys have been eating bloodworms regularly. I read online that it's hard to get them to eat, but first day mine were soaking up the bloodworms. That's my bigger Jack Dempsey. Look at the spangles on him. Beautiful fish. So let's go check out the shrimp. Okay, in here, this is the main colony of cherry shrimp. And honestly, it's not doing so great. There should be a lot more than there is, but there are babies, so I know they are breeding. But I would like to see a lot more going on in this tank. This is the 20 gallon. But the 10 gallon, the backup colony, is actually doing way better. They're multiplying like crazy. I only put, I think, 6 in here originally. You can see there's a shedding. And they are just freaking everywhere. I think I'm going to try feeding these guys green beans tonight as well. Next up is the 120 gallon with my bowfin and my gigantic comet goldfish. He's got to be 12 inches. And this guy here, he's a good probably 14, 15 inch bowfin. His stomach is always full. And you can see he's got a scrape in his head. Usually I keep the water level about 2 inches low, and I didn't last water change, and I should have, because every now and then I'll get spooked and he'll bounce his head off the lid. But also in here, I moved that giant pleco that would not stop pooping everywhere. You can see him right there. And the jaguar cichlid is in there. Hopefully he'll come out in a little bit and I'll get you some better footage of him. And this would be the last tank to show you, my mantis shrimp tank. I just did a water change on it, so it's still pretty cloudy, but just to give you a quick view, I'm basically going to go to no lights on this, only when I'm feeding him, because the algae is just fucking crazy. But, yep, there's not much to see. He only comes out to grab his food and then runs back into his cave. If I was going to make another one, I would not have put the rock in so he couldn't burrow under it, and then he'd be forced to use this tube, and then at least I'd be able to watch him. So, but I'll put in a clip I have of feeding him. So I figure might as well show you feeding the fish too. This here is bloodworms. I like to get the cubes and a cup of warm water. And we let that sit there. And then I use a disposable syringe. But I get quite a bit of use out of it. This one's probably like 20 milliliters, 15 milliliters. And once they thaw, we'll soak some up and start distributing them. Meanwhile, we can look at the brine shrimp hatchery. You get your brine shrimp, and then you take chocolate sauce. And no, I'm kidding. But these are my brine shrimp hatcheries. The top tip, the Fanta bottles, and also barks are shaped like that, which helps keep the eggs from sticking. So I have these two 2-liter bottle setups running down into this gang valve, and you'll see in a minute. I'll shut off the air to the bottles, and I'll shut off the air up here, just because sometimes a bubble will sneak through and mess everything up. And then relieve the pressure in the line and let these settle. We're going to get our flashlight going to track all of them to the bottom. And I'll turn the light off above it so that they focus on going towards the bottom of the bottles. Just like that. We'll come back in a minute after that settles. Time to feed. Okay, we got our syringe packed up with delicious bloodworms. And of course, no lid, no opening. Okay, so in this tank there's one ram and the ornate bashir. So I'll give them a squirt. He'll peck at it, and whatever he doesn't eat, the ornate will pop out later tonight and eat the rest. Let's feed the angel parents. I have a feeding hole in all the top stack tanks, all the top row tanks. So I can just squirt it in. And they'll go to town eating the bloodworms. These guys, every now and then, I'll give them a squirt of bloodworms as a snack. But their main diet is pellets. See, there's a scratching, I told you. The jaguar did a number on him. But none of it's too deep, it should heal up pretty quickly. Alright, axolotls. I hate it when they're by the filter because the bloodworms get sucked into the filter. But they'll forage around and they'll find it. They remind me of Slowpoke. Alright, piranha time. These guys have a huge appetite. Let's see. Plecos, are they out yet? No. I'm gonna have to pull out those green beans and put in some fresh ones. Oh, there's one of them. We'll come back to them. Alright. Smaller Jack Dempsey and Frontosa. Just had to say it that way. Frontosa. Gobble, 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 gobble. Oh, gotta get that one. Oh, now that one. Okay, now these rams. This one's a little difficult, but I do have a feeding hole for them. Bloop. That might be a little too much for 2 little rams. We'll check back in a minute. I gotta feed these minnows, of course. Old Popeye the Sailor Man. Maybe that's why they get along with the piranhas. They act like piranhas. Zipping all over. Okay. Oh, that one was eating, but I scared him. These guys, we have to give Flake. The male's being a little aggressive there. Put some food in, that'll distract him. Got a pinch of food in. Alright. Now, for the 55-gallon. The little squirmy boys. Everyone needs tire track eels. They're just so cool. Alright, let's see. This is what I always do too. Fed, 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 not fed, not fed, fed, not fed, fed, not fed, fed, fed. Okay, so let's give a little squirt of bloodworms for the shrimp. They don't need much. Okay, scrimps. Squirt of bloodworms. Alright, so now you can see they're all gathered up down there. Alright, so here's what we do. We're going to open up the drain valve. So right here. That's open. Now we're going to open up the valve hooked up to this 2-liter. And you're going to see them come flying. And I like to stop it and check, make sure that there's still a bunch in the line, and it's not, they're kind of thinning out. You can see there's actually a lot of them up higher. So what I'll do sometimes as well is I'll take my syringe and suck them out from the top there if that's where they're hanging out. But this is enough to feed the newborns. So we're going to go over to the baby tank here and make sure I find the hole. Otherwise this is going to get real messy. So that's all the fresh hatched baby brine shrimp. Babies are all on that back wall right now. And they're all starting to come out now. They sense the food's there. So, we'll forage probably for the next hour with just that. Now, with our leftover water, warm water, we're going to take a nice sizable chunk of krill and dunk it in there. The krill, we're going to give 2 pieces to the puffers, 1 half a piece to the manna shrimp because he's so small, and then the rest are going to be for the goldfish, the jaguar cichlid, and the bowfin. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and feed some of the live ones to the bigger babies, because this hatchery basically needs to be refilled. So, what we'll do is, since that's not going to be enough to feed them, we're going to take some baby brine shrimp and add it to that cup. I literally just slit my finger open on that tin foil. Okay, we got our baby brine, frozen and live. Let's add it to the baby's tank. I think they like it. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take some of that omega-1 and I'm going to grind up a pinch and throw it in there for some of the bigger ones. Okay, puffers. Time to eat. So I have got 2 pieces of krill here. We're going to pop those in. Oh, there comes the third one finally. Okay, now the 120-gallon krill. Hopefully that jaguar cichlid is coaxed out, so I can give you a shot of him. Look at all the krill eyeballs. Goldfish will come eat those eyeballs. Bowfin's moving into the cave a little bit. That might force the jaguar out. No, he changed his mind. Okay, what I got here is a piece of rigid airline tubing with a paper clip jammed in the end and a piece of krill. And we're going to attempt to feed the manna shrimp. I'm going to see if I can draw them out a little. So you probably can't see it in the film, but he's right in there. I can see his antennas.
Intruders in engineering. Casualties reported on deck 12. Sick bay responding. Seal off all decks. Lock on for an hour.
He's coming out.
Still no indications he's
What?
Manna shrimp's coming out. Don't come over here.
Yes, sir. Captain.
There he goes. There he goes.
Across the neutral zone border. It is in Federation space and heading towards us. Delay that order, number 1.
So the big old pleco came out. And the jaguar cichlid. Ah!